4th down, the final play, unless they can stick it in the end zone. Dorsey, under pressure, throws it. Incomplete. The Buckeyes win.
Ezekiel Elliott, and he's got an opening. Elliott off to the races. Can they catch him?
Feature the two backs as receivers, and now a downfield shot on first down for the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State strikes first. Making adjustments again, and there is Smith running free, breaks a tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly from 45 yards. Pressure comes. Shaw, knock it out, and picks it up. Jack Shaw coming down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and score and dagger from 82 yards.
Here they come.
Heavy pressure. Howard delivers downfield. It's Smith. He's got it. Jeremiah Smith. The 2025 College Football National Champion, Coach Ryan Day, and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Welcome in, Buckeye Backers. We are bringing it to you live from Seattle, Washington, to the cornfields of Enid, Ohio. We are the pulse of Buckeye fans across the nation, with Seattle Matt and Buckeye Steve. Oh man, it feels good. We just had a Buckeye game. This is the morning after show. We are going to do this every morning after in the fall, just like we did last year. It was a spring game. It was morning after. Seattle Matt and Buckeye Steve are here for you. So, initial thoughts. What'd you think? You know what? Let's not go to that. Let's talk about those rings, man. They got those rings unveiled. Will Howard got to show you the rings on TV. Everyone saw him, that little flip where you can look at the scores and then see some of the confetti from the game. That was a cool touch, something that I don't know that I've seen before on a ring. Initial thoughts on that?
It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to see all the former players back there too. I know they're getting prepped for the NFL draft here in about 11 days. So to see them all back on the field, I thought was impressive. I thought the confetti was a nice touch. I think that's pretty cool. It's something, it's a piece of memorabilia from the stadium that very few people will have. So just a really cool atmosphere overall that day. I thought it was a nice touch to do the rings then too.
It's kind of interesting there. I got my confetti from the Rose Bowl here. That was kind of sweet.
Yeah, but yours.
So, yeah, if I could put that in a championship ring, that would be cool, but that's never happening. But sweet, man. It was just a nice touch, something extra that I haven't seen before, and it was awesome. You know what? That was probably the last time that team will be together in the shoe until they celebrate the national title team of 2024, 10 years from now.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, those guys are all going their separate ways. Who knows where they're getting drafted? Hopefully 17 of them are getting drafted, but that will come shortly, right?
Unlikely, but hopeful.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, man, we got to get it in here. Andre. Oh, how great it feels to be a Buckeye fan yesterday and today. And I talked about it a little bit. I was on the Buckeye Boys show last night. Man, imagine if Ryan Day went the route of some of these other programs. It was like, you know what? Not doing the spring game. Not going to do it. We would have missed that beautiful Saturday for Buckeye football. All those kids that got their jerseys signed, the cheerleaders that came out, youth cheerleaders did, a little bit of a presentation before things got kicked off, got the crowd started. And how cool it is for those little girls and all those boys and girls that got their memorabilia signed. It was really a family atmosphere. So I just wanted to give props to Ohio State for creating that. Parking was free. So anyone who is struggling to get their kids into the shoe got to do it for cheap yesterday.
That's the point of the spring game now.
Absolutely.
For maybe families that don't have the ability to go, can't get tickets, or they're really tough to get tickets. It's supposed to be an event like that so you can experience it. That's the whole point of a spring game.
Yeah, and I read a comment. I got 4 kids. It's $40. I'm going to go for sure.
Absolutely.
I was like, that's cool. That's awesome. Definitely awesome. But let's get into it, man. Initial thoughts. You got to start off with the quarterback battle, right? Saying, Keenholz. What do you think?
I think my initial thought is, first off, inconclusive. I don't see anything there that really put Keenholzer saying one or two ahead of each other. But I'll be honest, I've been saying it for weeks now. I think the way Coach Day has to play this is he has to play it as each quarterback has that shot at winning the starting job in August, so that one of these two does not jump in the transfer portal. So
I don't think that's coach speak. I think that is exactly what's happening. You go. So the rumors are we had that scrimmage that Julian saying did pretty bad in. That was one that was closed to everyone. We had the open scrimmage, which I saw, and Keenholz won that easily. And then you have this spring game, which probably favored saying,
yes,
I think people jump to the very, very first impression, right? Everyone jumps on that first impression they've seen. And if you just watch the first half and you watch all those highlights of saying, you're like, all right, he won it easy, hands down. And we all get emotional. We're like, yeah, I love that guy. It's like Mylan Graham. You get out there and see him, the way he performed. I love that guy. He should start right now. But you got to see the body of work over time, like the coaches get to see. There's mistakes, there's mental breakdowns, there's things that are happening behind the scenes that go into this, right? There's more piling on. Easy to watch highlights and be like, yo, that's my dude.
I agree, but I'll also counter with the fact that it's also easier to perform in practice than go through an entire day of walking into the shoe, playing. It was 40,000. Guess what? You're not playing 40,000 in practice. So you're simulating the best you can in a game-like situation for the spring practice, which you cannot do in practice. So I do favor something like this a little bit more than a Tuesday scrimmage practice, because you're mimicking game-like settings. So I look at that first and say that's why I thought saying played a little bit better, and that gives me a little bit more confidence. You also look at the type of throws and the type of passes you were seeing. I thought there were a lot of checkdowns, and I'll say that about both quarterbacks. And we're keeping St. Clair out of this discussion because we're talking about the QB battle. St. Clair had a great day, but we'll talk about it later. I thought there were a lot of checkdowns. I thought there were a lot of going with my first read, scrambling out, hitting a 2-yard out. Those aren't productive plays. So which quarterback showed me the ability to really push the ball down the field, show different types of throws? That's why I would lean a little bit more saying. And I talked to you about, there was that series in the third quarter where Sayin threw, I think it was an 18-yard bullet to Mylan Graham in the middle. And in the very next play, I think it was somewhere in the range of 10 to 20 yards, I can't remember exactly, threw a beautiful touch pass to Claire. And what I told you there is you see the full array of passes with that series. You saw a bullet pass with incredible accuracy, and you saw an amazing touch pass. A lot of quarterbacks, even in the NFL, have trouble with that type of touch pass. So to see a sophomore do it is very impressive. To me, Sayin played better. Well, what are your thoughts?
I would go with your impression that Sayin played better. But what I want people to go back and do is look at that second half for Keenholz too. You're getting a better impression. And also keep in mind, when we saw some other quarterbacks come out in the past as their first start, as a spring game, there's a wide array of things that happen. And we're playing on emotions here, right? CJ Stroud, when he came out, it was at 2021, I think it was, in Minnesota.
Yep.
People were like, they're like, no, he can't be the starter. We got to have something different. He's not the dude. And it was a tough game. Like, they won a close one up in Minnesota. That's the kind of thing you're going to get that we don't see long-term that Coach is going to see. Coach Day knows. Obviously, he can pick a quarterback. Trust in the process with him. What really, really stood out to me, Keenholz was running out with the leaders of the team coming out the tunnel. He took first snaps in the first quarter, first snaps in the third quarter. Now, maybe I'm reading too much into that, and he's just the senior dude, so he's not necessarily, he's not the senior. He's the more senior dude, like more experience, right? So I think that might have something to play with it, but just reading the tea leaves, it looks like he won those first two scrimmages behind closed doors and the student appreciation scrimmage. So he got the nod. Now, does this change things? Absolutely. You want to see bullets flying, 41,000 people in the shoe, people screaming, that all day event, and you want to see how you can lead the team. The one thing that I'm going to give saying is he had those two possessions to kind of get a flow. Kienholz had some things go against him, and he wasn't able to create that flow. But he came back in that third quarter, went right down and scored a touchdown with ease, and then played well after that. Just go back and watch the third and fourth quarter, that second half for Kienholz. Compare that to the first half of Julian Sain, and we got a tight race.
It's a tight race. I'll give you that. And I don't think you're reading anything into it. I think Coach Day is saying by that at that morning, yesterday morning, Kienholz probably had the edge.
Yeah.
But if I'm Coach Day right now and I'm sitting in the QB room talking to them, I am pumping up Sain too. Because again,
absolutely,
there's two things here. One, you have to be realistic and you need the best quarterback starting August 30th. That's all everyone knows. I'm going to keep leaning on the fact that I don't think he has an answer right now. And that's not a terrible thing. Again, if there was no transfer portal right now, I would say I would be concerned without an answer. But because we have the transfer portal coming up, I'm not concerned about an answer. I want both these guys on the team August 30th. But if we're just looking again at what we saw on Saturday, which is really our first impression. I know you're at the Woody, you're in the media, so you see a lot more than the rest of us. I thought Sain played a lot better.
Sure.
I shouldn't say a lot better. I thought he played better.
I also thought putting Sain in for that last, kind of 2-minute situation was telling there for Day too. Because he's like, all right, he won the spring. Let's see how he does under pressure. Because that's been a lot of what Sain's issues have been. He's been forcing the ball. And there was one play where he threw it in between three receivers. It went incomplete. And I think that was also in the third quarter, where it was like that one could have easily been picked off if you have the right guys out there. Again, it was the second team secondary. So some of them might even have been third team at that point. He takes chances sometimes. And we saw that chance in the student appreciation spring scrimmage, where Matthews picked it off, man. And it was just, a throw that he probably shouldn't have made. It probably should have been thrown out of bounds because he was under pressure and just hung it up there. And that's where, when you're under pressure, and that's the thing that we didn't see in spring. There were no defensive stunts. There were no loops. There wasn't blitzes. Until the very end, there was a couple, right?
But by and large, it's not going to be. And that's where we can take any talk about the defense in the spring game, throw it out the window. I have zero concerns. I read nothing into what you saw on the defensive side of the ball. That is not defense. That's basically 7-on-7. So, which is not a defensive style of playing whatsoever. So I don't read anything into that. But, I mean, I got to be honest with you. Height's alarming. It's alarming. Now, I think you can overcome it in college football. In the NFL, it's a little bit more difficult. But if I'm Texas and I'm playing against Julian Sain week 1, I'm telling my ends and my tackles, I want you containing, but not over pursuing. Meaning I want you to have that pocket and I want it tight, because he's going to have to throw over 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" people. And that is really difficult to do. The great ones, if you look at Baker Mayfield, right, 6 foot, he was able to get out of the pocket, be elusive. He had incredible accuracy, and that's why he won the Heisman. But I've also seen Baker Mayfield in the NFL that when you keep him in the pocket and contained and you get your arms up, really hard for him to complete passes. So I do worry about the height factor. How about you?
And that's something that Day mentioned in the post-game press conference. He was like, you got to have the elbow above your shoulder when you're throwing, and you got to play tall. You got to stand in there, and then you got to find those windows, which is something that I've seen out of Sain that's been phenomenal. He's really good at changing that arm angle when he throws, and he's also able to find those windows. It's like sometimes you'll be standing behind the offensive and defensive line, off on the sidelines, and you see that ball just come right over. And it's like, where that came out of nowhere, man. It looked like a pass from Magic Johnson.
Yeah, he also did have a batted ball there in the first quarter.
He did, absolutely.
And that looked like there was a deeper in route, and it got batted down. CJ Donaldson ended up catching it, but he was not the primary receiver.
Also, one of the reasons why Day was like, I need more 11-on-11 football. He's like, you go out, any other sport, baseball, soccer, basketball, you could play 7 games on a weekend, and go to a tournament and get some live action for these guys. In football, you have maybe 13 to 17, depending on how far you go in the playoffs. So these guys don't get a lot of live games. And so he's going to have to try to do that, in practice. One of the reasons why we saw live hitting in the student spring game, student appreciation game. I mean, he let them get hit, and the line was moving. We were getting stunts. We were getting blitzes in that live portion. So yeah, let's go back to anyone else. Are you ready to move on from the quarterbacks?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go on to anyone else that stood out to you.
I think you have to go to Graham. I think that's the
Absolutely.
first person that really stood out to me. And I'll say this, I don't put any stock in what you saw from the running backs. In fact, I actually was at times wishing stop running the ball, right? Because it's still a scrimmage and people are being cognizant of that, and they were ripping off at times 8, 10, 12-yard runs, and everyone knew why. So I don't put a lot of stock into what the running backs did, but you were seeing Graham do some incredible route running. And I go back to this is where I saw the blessing and the curse, and I forget exactly what it was, but he was matched up one-on-one down in the end zone. I think they were at the 4, and I think that was Sand because he completed the pass to Claire to get that first and goal at the 4. Mm-hmm. Graham ran an incredible route, faked that slant and went to the flag route, but he didn't get 2 hands up. And that was very alarming to me because there was no reason why you didn't have both hands up. And part of me is like, is this dude trying to make a one-handed grab? We've seen Abuka do it in spring games. We've seen Jeremiah do it. It looked like he was trying to make a one-handed grab. There was no reason why he couldn't get the second hand up. That was incomplete. So that was a little concerning. I was wondering what he was doing with that, but the route was beautiful. And overall, he looked like he was, you told me last week you were seeing it in practice. The guy
open all day.
Open. And he was.
Open all day. You know what? He reminds me, a lot of people were comparing him to Garrett Wilson. And I was like, yeah, he does. But he runs routes like Chris Olave. And that is like athletic ability, running routes like Olave. Woo, he's going to be hot, man. He's going to be hot. But you got to understand that any of these receivers that get a chance, they're going to look good because they're all phenomenal. Like Quincy Porter, awesome. And some of those catches that he had yesterday were out of this world. And he's got all the tools to be that lead receiver. And anywhere else, Mylan Graham, Quincy Porter, they would be that lead receiver. Now, one thing I have to pay attention to, they're not going to get playing time if they're not blocking downfield, not at Ohio State.
You have to block. You have to.
And that's one thing that I haven't seen out of either of those two. Got to pay more attention to that on my, third time watching the spring game later on today.
But that's the blueprint, or that's the stamp of Coach Hartline. Again, Coach Brian Hartline played in the NFL. I'll tell you right now, no NFL team is taking any wide receiver that doesn't block downfield. Even some of the greats, go watch Justin Jefferson, go watch Jamar Chase. They block downfield. Even the elite wide receivers in the NFL do that. You have to do that. And then route running. Route running is so critical in the NFL because everything is so tight that even that 6 inches of separation is the difference between being open and not open. So I look at blocking downfield and I look at route running, the blueprint of why these wide receivers, on top of immense talent and incredible ability, are getting picked in the first round because they're coming out clean and polished. So I look at that and I say, okay, Graham's listening in practice. He understands what it takes to be an elite wide receiver. And I wouldn't be shocked if he starts working his way up the next couple of years in that upper echelon. We're all going to be talking about Smith the next 2 years. Doesn't mean you can't have somebody else come up too.
It's a nice, fourth receiver to have if he ends up being fourth receiver, because it kind of looks like he's there. Stats. You have the quarterback stats. Let's get into that real quick. I don't think we had any stats for anyone else. I do remember Bo Jackson had 88 yards rushing. I don't know if I had any receiving stats for anyone.
Yeah, so Mylan had 4 catches, 1 of 4 and a TD. Quincy Porter, 4 catches for 50. Nate Roberts, 4 for 41.
Nate Roberts looked good.
Well, I do want to say, you asked me who I liked, and I got to say flat out, Max Clare is going to be the
yes
this year.
Oh yeah.
We saw it with Stover a few years back, how he was that safety blanket, and I think you're going to see that with Clare. There was that touchdown he scored. When you just see, I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, every pass play, I just want Clare running the seam. It's beautiful. It splits the safeties, and I love that seam route because you're making that safety commit. Are you going to shade Jeremiah? Are you going to go over the middle? And you just let the
pick your poison,
basically. And if you see cover 2, I'm almost every time I see cover 2, I'm telling Claire, just run right down the middle of the field. He looks phenomenal. He looks like a guy who can have 50 catches this season in this system. He looks like a guy who's going to take his draft stock maybe a day 2, maybe even start cracking the first round possibly. But loved everything.
But you know what? You know what else that opens up? If you run the deep route with Jeremiah Smith, you run Claire splitting the seams, those crosses that we love, that's why they're always open. That's why Mylan Graham's always open. The play design. It just, man, you have the Caleb's and the Jeremiahs. I posted that earlier. Instead of the Jimmys and the Joes, you have the Caleb's and the Jeremiahs. You open up the field for everyone else. And that's one of the reasons. I mean, our depth at wide receiver is just freakish. It's amazing. And every single one of those guys is going to the NFL. Every single one of those receivers.
I agree. And it's not just about tell a wide receiver, go run a fade or go run a deep route after play. But what separates Ryan Day in the Ohio State offense with so many other college football programs is that intermediate in route. Or what do you want to call it, a drag, or whether they just cut in, kind of a hook or a button hook there. That anywhere between that 12 to 18 yard range, when you're cutting in on the field while you're simultaneously worried about, okay, this guy's running a fade, this guy's running a skinny post. You have all these deep threats that you're worried about, and then you're getting that intermediate in route. That is such a deadly route. And not a lot of college football programs can run that and execute it because you're not worried about 4 threats on the field. You're worried about 1 or 2. Well, Ohio State, you have to worry about 4. So I think that's going to open up the tight end passing game quite a bit. And I think Claire is a perfect fit for them.
Absolutely. Perfect fit. Just to have him back, a guy from Ohio goes and proves himself at Purdue. And Purdue was like, that was the highlight of their season. Just watching Max Clare out there, like, hey, he's our offense. Get him the ball. Now he's over at Ohio State in a receiving core that's out of this world. Absolutely out of this world. And you thought every year you think, it's not going to be as good as last year. It's not going to be as good as last year. And then along comes Jeremiah and all these other recruits. I think they're just getting better and better every year. Every single year. It's like, wow, our receiving crew is like, they could be top 1, 2, and 3 in the nation.
Possibly.
If you got them enough balls, they could be top 1, 2, and 3 in the nation.
But I think it's a testament too, where you look at somebody like Graham, who in all seriousness is probably wide receiver 1 at
anywhere. Not anywhere.
115 schools, I'd say. There's 136 in FBS. I'd say maybe 120 schools. He's a number 1 wide receiver. In worst case scenario, he's a number 2 at the majority of them. You're talking about him not only being number 4 right now, but being 4 and hungry, 4 and staying, 4 and fighting. That's a testament to what Coach Hartline has done with that wide receiver room and basically said, you come here, I ain't going to guarantee you any time or anything, but what I'm going to guarantee is if you run the course and you stay with us, you're going to be NFL ready. And you're going to get picked in the NFL, and you're going to get to where you need to be. And that's just Coach Hartline, really.
Yeah, wide receiver you. There's a reason. If you look at AJ Green, or Andre Green was saying, whoever wins the Ohio State quarterback job will have a proven backup just in case the starter cannot finish the season. And that's absolutely the truth. And that's something that I think Ryan Day knows. He knows any of these guys, even Tavion St. Clair, can take them to a national title contending level, right? Tavion St. Clair is a little green, right? You saw what he did to start the game versus what he did to end the game. He looked like he really caught fire in that third and fourth quarter. A lot of mistakes to start, right? And to be expected. But you see his athletic ability, him pulling away. There was a lot of angles where he beat the defender around the edge. All they had to do was touch him with a hand and he's down, and he still beat him. He's got some quicks.
He does, but that's a freshman. And I had to tell you and AJ this last year with Dylan Raiola. Raiola is an immense talent, right? Mm-hmm. You're a freshman going against Big Ten competition. Good luck. That's how you finish 6-6. We hear the same thing with Bryce Underwood. This is not knocking Bryce Underwood. He's going to be an immense talent. But if you start him as a freshman, good luck, because you're probably going to have 4 losses that year. And this isn't a knock against these freshmen or the talent they have. It is just so difficult to elevate from whatever level you were playing at high school to Big Ten football. It's different. Sure. So I don't look at anything St. Clair did and say, oh, I'm worried. I look at it and say, that kid is raw, and he's going to grow and develop, especially year over year. And he's going to be an immense talent. But
absolutely,
I put no stock in the freshman. It's why what Jeremiah Smith did last year was so phenomenal. You just don't see true freshmen walk into the SEC or Big Ten and dominate at the level they did. I mean, Caleb Downs did it at Alabama as a freshman. It was incredible. There's a reason why these are first-round talents and why they're elite players, because they did it at a freshman level. Very, very few people can do that, especially at the quarterback level.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, they were that good, and this seasoning is that good. Yum, 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 get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some.
Dano Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe, we all know you're the best.
What?
You can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
Yum, yum, get you some. Man, that is really good stuff, man. If you haven't tried it yet, go out and get you some. All right? All right, Prince.
Yeah, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, there's going to be some portal additions. I mean, Ryan Day's already said it. He's come out and said that's where we need depth. If we're going to hit the portal, that's where we're going to hit it. Depends on who's in there, too, right? I mean, they're going to need some D-line depth. I don't think they're going to need any starters. They just need some rotational pieces. Someone that's produced, obviously someone that has to fit the culture, because they got an amazing culture at Ohio State right now. So they can't just go out and get anyone. It's got to be someone that fits right with the team, and someone that, can earn their place in the brotherhood, because the brotherhood's real. It is real. You see what's happened with Nico in Tennessee. That stuff's not happening at Ohio State right now. These guys know, together you can earn more. And I mean earn more as far as playing time, as far as money in the NFL. I mean, this team, they're head and shoulders maturity level above any other team. And to be a championship team, it's amazing. So yeah, they're going to hit the portal for the D-line. Absolutely. It's just a matter of finding the right guy.
Absolutely. And Coach Day said it afterwards. So, I mean, that's why it's front and center,
and he said it since the start of spring. I mean, it's no hidden agenda that they're going to get into the, it starts with Hero Canoe. They lost him, and he was that rotational piece that really, really hurt them. Really hurt them. We had a conversation about it last night, and there was Why he went to Texas, who knows? But he would have been a rotational piece here. There was some thought that Jim Knowles was trying to have his way with, the 3-3-5, and there would only be 3 down linemen, and he wouldn't get any playing time. And so that's why he hopped into the portal. I don't know how true that is, but that would make sense, right? I got to get out of here. I'm not going to get as much playing time as I want. Now that they're going to go to a 4-2 base, which is what they played the whole scrimmage, he would have had a lot more playing time, and he would have been in a nice spot to earn a big paycheck. I don't know what's going to happen down in Texas, what their defensive line looks like, but I think they lost some people on the D-line down there too.
They have. Over the last 2 years, they've lost some really good talent. Murphy 2 years ago, Collins last year. I mean, really elite first-round talent down in Texas. So that is a tough thing. And second off, I'll say, please, Coach Knowles, please run a 3-3-5 at Penn State. I cannot wait on that. We will run for 350 yards on you. I don't care how elite Penn State's defense is. This ain't West Virginia. You can't run a 3-3-5 or Oklahoma State. So I had to throw that in. But
what do you think about the D-line?
I read nothing into it. You and I talked about this yesterday on your drive home. Is this is a 7-on-7 drill, right? So as a defensive lineman, you are meant to attack upfield. And the second that ball is not handed off, you're attacking the quarterback. Well, obviously, yesterday, you cannot do that. You have it ingrained in your head, do not touch black jersey. And when you play with that do not touch black jersey, you're not playing at the same level at all. And even there were times, again, I got so upset when you're running the football with touch. That's just tough. It's tough on a D line where you're taught to attack the fierceness in the trenches. And, oh, my goodness, this guy's coming at me, tap him. Completely different mindset. I look at nothing about the front six and have any questions or concerns about anything. Wouldn't read into it. In fact, I wouldn't even read into a lot of the safeties, to be honest with you, because safeties, you have that aggressiveness and that attack. And if you're not getting that interception, the next thing you're doing is you're putting your shoulder in that guy's collarbone. Well, you can't do that in a spring game either. So I read nothing into the defense. If you do want to read a little bit, I would say cornerbacks one-on-one. That is a true battle in this setting because you can play your natural position. I thought I saw some good things from Aaron Scott, to be honest with you. I know that's your local boy.
Some fight, that's for sure.
I love it. I absolutely love it. He did get burned on that Graham route that we talked about, but that was a really
he slipped. He fell. Are you talking about the one in the end zone?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he took a bad step and slipped. So
it's getting burned, man, as a quarterback. I don't care if you fall or bug gets in your eye. It doesn't matter. It was a slick route. It was a really, really clean, crisp route. I'll give him that. There were other times Scott was toe-to-toe. He looked really good. But I say take anything you saw from the defense yesterday, throw it out the window. It means nothing.
Absolutely. There were some things that I did see that did mean something.
Talk me through them. What did you see?
Logan George getting in there. I know it's one-hand touch on the quarterback, but just getting there and making plays. There's some guys that just, you know how some guys just have that motor where they're like, I can't slow down. I can't take a play off. And Logan George seems to be one of those dudes that's just like, I'm going to get after it. You saw a couple things with linebacker play. You saw Peyton Pierce just completely obliterate a guard coming out to tackle him, pushes him on his butt, and scrapes around the tackle and makes a play on a little stretch run. Awesome. You saw Riley Pettijohn. You saw his speed, sideline to sideline, get around a block and go make a tackle, on the sideline. Great play by him. You saw Jalen McClain break up a pass in the end zone to Jelani Thurman. That I thought was awesome. The way he ripped his hand through the ball and broke up a touchdown. I mean, by two hands on it by Jelani Thurman, and he goes and rips that apart, for one of what would have been another touchdown by Keen Holtz. A great throw, great job getting two hands on it, but you got to bring those down. And when you have a phenomenal play like that, that's exactly how you want it. Rip your hand right through that ball and break it up.
That's always been my knock on Thurman is catching. I think he blocks well. He does a lot of things well, but his catching has been suspect. I don't have his stats. I remember one catch he had for sure, but he's a very, very strong individual. When you got two hands on the ball, nobody should rip that out of your hands. So the fact that somebody is, again, that goes back to catching. And if I'm Thurman and I want to be that tight end too, I'd be hitting the jugs machine every single day from now until August 30th.
Should. Yeah, he's got to bring those down. He had a couple nice catches out there, though. I think one other one that I can remember off the top of my head where he brought one in good over his head. Okay. He's a phenomenal player. He comes from a great background of athletes, Odell Thurman's son. So
you can just tell. I mean,
again, you can see it. Yeah,
you can just see it. He's got all the physical tools in the world. It's one of these projects where you have to just bring that all together now. And I think if he can bring it together and show that pass catching ability, sky's the limit for him.
And getting back to the DBs, we didn't see Jermaine Matthews out there much. He's absolute ball hawk freak, like first rounder. It's happening. Just watching him throughout practice, it's happening, dude. Absolutely, just eye-opening good, crazy good. And he's got that confidence level. He's got that swagger. He's got that grit. He's working his butt off in the Woody. And wait till you see him this fall, man. Wait till you see him. It's going to be fun to watch.
I love the DB, so I am excited about that.
I'm talking one of the best. Wait till you see him. One of the best at Ohio State ever.
That's high praise, man. That's high praise.
You're going to see it. Dude, he's all over the field. He's all like, he just shines, man. He doesn't get a lot of reps because they're holding him out because he's that good. Like, you don't have to show me anything else. He is that good.
Yeah, same with Caleb. And again, I'm not worried about that position. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm worried about Igbinosun. No. I'm going to always be worried about Igbinosun.
Hey, you know what we haven't seen?
So he proves me wrong.
Holds. We haven't seen any holds from Igbinosun.
Right? Haven't played a game.
And I talked about this last night on the Buckeye Bros show. We talked about this right to end last year. He needs mittens on all spring long. He didn't have them, but I haven't seen it. I mean, I've seen live action with him, and I've seen zero holds. There was a holding in the student appreciation scrimmage, and the first thing everyone said, it wasn't IGB. It wasn't IGB. We're good.
Yeah, but that's worrisome. That's worrisome that those statements are coming out and they're happening. And if you don't think Sark is going to target him week one, I don't know what to tell you. I would, my first 10 throws would be his way. And it doesn't mean he can't do it, but he has to prove to everyone that he can cover without committing a penalty. And again, the referees, they don't live in a vacuum. They know who he is.
Nope.
So he may even be unfairly called at times for penalties, but when you earn that reputation, it's going to take a long track record, 6 games of no penalties to erase that track record. So it is very worrisome to me. So I'm not worried about the opposite corner.
You know what worries me more? When a guy's not in position, when he's actually getting burnt, always. That worries me more. He was always in position. He's long. He's athletic. He can make the plays. It's just he needs that. I think he needs that confidence. It's that split second, like we talked about before. I talked about it last night. When your eyes get big, you see that ball in the air. You're like, oh crap, maybe I'm not in position, and that's going through your head in that split second. And that's why
you're also in position because you've held him too. I mean, that's the other piece.
No, I mean, I don't think a lot of what he did was holding prior to the ball being in the air.
And I'm
sure there was some, but a lot of what I remember is ball in the air. I'm almost about to make a play. I'm pulling and reaching. It's like
I'm shooting a little from the hip on this, and I don't know it, but I'll say this: I don't see a lot of defensive holding calls in college football versus the NFL. The NFL, you see it a lot. The NFL officials are very, very good about when did the penalty happen. If it's before the quarterback threw the football, it's defensive holding. if it's when the ball's in the air, it's pass interference.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I see it just a lot of straight PI in college football. And I'm not going to sit here and parse through the numbers and whether that's true or not. I just don't recall it off the top of my head seeing a lot of defensive holding on cornerbacks very often. They usually just go straight PI. So that is the difference where maybe we're not seeing, you're hearing PI, but in reality in the NFL, that would have been defensive holding because it occurred before the ball was in the air.
You know what? I can't think of a few times he did grab, at the hips off the break. But still, he's good enough. He's going to get there, and he's going to make it to the NFL.
He has talent. He has immense talent. Again, he cleans up technique, and he's probably a day 2 pick. He has incredible talent, but no team is going to want penalties.
Yeah, he has the chance to prove it. He's back this year to prove that he's not going to have those penalties. So it's going to be cool to see. And with Jermaine Matthews on the other side, like I said, he's going to be one of the best to ever play cornerback at Ohio State. Mark my words on that, man. I cannot wait for this season to watch him play. I cannot wait. Absolutely a ball hawk, absolutely talented. He's everywhere on the field. He's shutting people down, man. And when you're shutting down this zone 6, whew.
I want to talk a little bit about the styles, both of them, man. Kind of what you were reading from them, because again, I don't take a lot of stock in the defense, but just reading a lot of things, and I think the thing that caught my eye in watching the spring game, and I did not realize this, Sonny Styles had 100 tackles last year. You know how hard it is to have 100 tackles on a senior laden defense. With everybody that they had. To pull down 100 tackles at any level is incredible. And that was a stat that I saw yesterday. It absolutely blew my mind. So tell me more about the styles, both of them. I want to hear about
We'll start with Sonny, the silent assassin, if you want to say, because he's like that dude.
100 tackles quietly. Yeah.
He's quiet to get 100 tackles. Absolutely. It didn't stand out, but he's always in the right place. He has all the physical tools. He's a huge dude. And he's making plays. This year, it's going to be a completely different story. He's the one taking the lead. He's the leader on the team. He is kind of the heart and soul of this team. Everyone's looking to him. What was really, really cool was when you saw Lorenzo Style get that pass breakup. I believe it was against Mylan Graham, too. And it was a great throw, almost a great catch. But again, working his arm up through the receiver's arm, breaking up the ball at the last second. Lorenzo had a hell of a play. We didn't see a lot from him either because I think he's solidified that starting nickelback role. And then his brother, Sonny, comes over and it was just like, all right, man, got you. Like that leadership role, but like big brother too, It was cool to see.
Yeah. Which is nice with that tandem. You have not only the leadership component of it, but you have that sibling rivalry where you're always going to be pushing that sibling to be better. And I think that's incredibly healthy for that defense.
Absolutely.
But it runs through Down. I mean, just listening to Down's interviews right on the sideline, I know you were actually on the field, so you didn't get to see the TV coverage as much. But just listening to Caleb, what a leader, what a professional, knowing that we all need to realize that if Caleb Downs was NFL draft eligible today, he's probably going top 10. And that is not even a knock against its talent. It's because safeties going in the top 10 are almost unheard of in the NFL draft. He is just a rare talent, but the professionalism and maturity that he is showing gives me confidence, because the one area of major concern I have with the defense is just lack of experience. There is no substitute for experience. And that's just natural when you have an elite team that wins a national title. You're not going to bring back that experience that you have year over year. But I think having somebody like Caleb and Sonny leading that defense, yes, you cannot replicate experience, but you sure as heck didn't lose leadership. And that's a key piece here.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone else that stood out on the defensive side?
No, you hit on George. I thought his motor ran all day, which is great. You and I are going to naturally be split on Hicks. And again, seeing that those numbers.
I saw him get in there a couple times. He did. I saw him being held quite a bit too.
They listed him as 233. So I'm gonna keep banging that drum. That
Dominic Kirks has shown some flash. Go ahead, finish your thought.
No, I was good with mine. Let's shift to Kirks.
Dominic Kirks, he's starting to show out a little bit. I've seen some flashes of him being real good. He had a big sack on Julian Saying in the student appreciation scrimmage, and he got in there and had some good moves breaking the offensive line and almost had a sack, I believe, again yesterday. So he's shown me quite a bit for one of the young guys that's maybe someone that you need to pay attention to a little bit more as the season goes on. You're getting some of those rotational pieces in. I think he's going to be one of those guys. I mean, he's pushing for playing time right now. And then defensively, who else was really a standout? Hard to say. You mentioned Aaron Scott. I didn't see much from Bryce West
I didn't either
in the spring game, which is interesting because I thought we would see a lot from him. Like to see a little bit more from, that Glenville pipeline. And he showed a lot last year. He showed a lot in some of the practices in the Woody too. I mean, he's definitely in the rotation for sure.
Yeah, and I think something that flew under the radar yesterday, fielding. We got to talk about it. I mean,
in the hip.
Yep.
You heard about the injury too, so that makes a lot more sense. And if you had, was it a torn hip? Is that what they said?
That's what they made it sound. They made it sound like he had a bruise on his arm. They're like, he just went through the season with a torn hip, and they moved on. I'm like, pretty serious injury
for a kicker. Absolutely, it is. You have to twitch.
Then why are you running him out there? You're telling me.
I don't
know. You didn't have a second place kicker on the team. You have 105 scholarships.
Well, let's think about this for a second. And harken back to, I'll use your word, harken back to the Michigan game. It was a cold game, right?
Yes.
So you have one of those hip flexor. I'm going to say hip flexors, or maybe groin, because I don't know exactly where it was in the hip.
They said torn hip. That's all they said. They didn't elaborate.
So not very specific, but they probably didn't get much more information on that because we don't like to talk about injuries at Ohio State. So just swinging your hip through. It doesn't matter which side because you're taking that long stride to get that kick on the ball to get momentum and get it going through. In cold weather where you're not warmed up real good, you get tight, those muscles get tight. He was probably hurting, and that's why he missed those field goals.
But then
again, the pressure, and you're right.
That's on the coaching staff for two reasons. One, you have to have somebody who can make a 30-yard kick on your roster outside of your place kicker. If you don't have a second kicker in college football, in some of the smaller programs, maybe not, you're Ohio State. You need to have a second guy who can kick because what happens if your first kicker goes down? So I don't know what the depth chart looked like, but how you don't have a second kicker on the roster is beyond my comprehension. I can find somebody who can punt, right? Yeah. I can find a lot.
If you don't,
I don't need I need a second kicker.
Correct. If you don't, you're watching game day and seeing what Pat McAfee is doing with those guys out there. Students be like, hey, you want to transfer in and kick at Ohio State?
It's not even that. It's mandatory 2 kickers on your roster, period. Punter, again, you don't want to soak up 2 scholarships for 2 punting. I get that.
Well, usually a kicker can punt.
You can piecemeal that together. And place kickers are not punters and vice versa. I get that. But you can figure out something in the punting game if you had to. Place kicker, that's non-negotiable. You need 2 on the roster. So where's the second one? And if a guy has a torn hip in the cold, stop going him out there to kick. And don't listen to him when he's like, Coach, I'm good. Coach, I'm good. That every player, every competitor is going to say they're good. That is on the medical staff and the coaching staff to say, sit down, kid, you're not good. And,
all right, and enough kicker talk, man.
No, it matters, dude. We literally saw it matter in the Michigan game. It matters. Yeah. It's a very big deal. And I'll tell you, I told you in the Tennessee playoff game, I held my breath after they scored that first touchdown because as a Cleveland Browns fan, I can tell you flat out, there is nothing more deflating than seeing your team score a touchdown and then watching your kicker miss the extra point. It deflates the whole experience. And I was thinking that the whole time on that first touchdown against Tennessee is we needed this momentum. We needed this swing. We needed everything about this touchdown, but it means nothing if Fielding misses this kick because it's going to remind us of the Michigan game. And he nailed it. He did. But kicking is incredibly important. And the fact that he went out there, went 4 for 4 yesterday, really a vote of confidence. I thought that was a really positive sign.
Absolutely. Offensive line looked good, but we weren't getting a lot of stunts. We weren't getting a lot of pressures. There was a base defense. It was hard to really tell how good the offensive line was, but as far as what we saw, everything looked pretty good.
I did, and there was some counters, and I absolutely love the counter. I think when the counter is executed well, it is extremely difficult for a defense to defend. You have to see it, read it, fill gaps. Very tough to do at the college level. So I saw some great counter runs there. If they can keep that in and then really build off and incorporate what they did in their playoff run, that we called it counter for lack of a better way of putting it. We didn't know what else to call it, but just running straight counters can be quite effective, especially with an athletic line. And if they can incorporate the counter offense a lot more this year,
those variations off the counter were just so beautiful in that Tennessee game. And then you got them again in the Rose Bowl, man, against Oregon. That's what opened up that JJ long run that he had, which was really technically a pass, but it was a short pass. They ran that counter, got everyone flowing the other way, and we're bringing Jeremiah across. And that's a highlight reel video now. It's like it is something that just amplifies that season, that run in the playoffs.
It's almost undefendable, though, because, again, correct. when you're seeing that counter, your front six or your front seven, you are taught as a linebacker, second I see that helmet pull up of an offensive lineman and start moving, I got to fill that gap. I have to fill that gap, or else they're going to seal this off and it's going to be a huge run. So as a linebacker, you're taught downfield, got to fill that gap. And then all of a sudden you're doing play action off that. So I'm taking my 2 steps forward. Now I got to get back in the coverage, or, oh, by the way, you're countering to the left. And all of a sudden the best wide receiver in football is running to my opposite side.
It's like Paula Abdul. Take 2 steps forward, take 2 steps back.
Opposites attract, man. They do. But especially so in that case. So I think I'm really curious this year to see how Coach Day and that offense builds off the counter concept that obviously Day and Kelly input in. But just seeing the counter a few times yesterday, and there were some really good runs off of that. Again, it just looked really beautiful. That's all I want to say about it.
Yeah, I love seeing it. And you noticed Ryan Day said in his press conference, they did a lot of, getting to the second level with the guards. He thought they did well with that. I thought the tackles held up pretty well, other than Logan George getting around the corner pretty easy when he was in. So,
but that's also, I got to take that for what it is. As an offensive lineman, you're probably going 60% in a game like that. Again, because it's just, we don't want you mauling people. We don't want you doing a lot. It's a very basic offensive concept, a lot of pass plays. And you get a kid from Idaho State that is probably juiced up beyond belief being in the shoe, right? He was playing in front of 20,000 people last year. This game was double what he ever played against last year, and it was a practice. So the kid's all hyped up. I love it.
How many
in April?
What's the stadium at Idaho State? Come on, man.
Nobody has ever Googled that ever.
Come on, Google it for me, man. I need to know.
I'm trying to even think Idaho State. I think it's Pocatello. I want to say off the top of my head. I can't even tell.
I think that's where he went to high school. Pocatello.
Nope. Idaho State University in Pocatello.
Is it? Okay.
I know, man. I've never Googled the stadium, but Pocatello is beautiful. It's beautiful. It's in southern Idaho. It's gorgeous, but I don't think they're getting a lot there.
Yeah, he's from Pocatello, Idaho, also.
So he went to his hometown. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But again, and again, love that if this guy proves me wrong, he starts going out in Texas, gets some QB pressures, maybe gets a sack, and you're like, okay, this kid's got a motor. That's why they wanted him. I just cannot read a whole lot into the offensive line or the front sits on the defense because it's a scrimmage and it's a shift in mindset. And that's where you really just look at the secondary and the cornerbacks is really your only read. But I take nothing away from what happened on the defensive side of the ball. And really running back too is a little tricky. So you're kind of just looking at quarterback.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you. Bo Jackson looked like everything that we wanted to see. He was running hard. He was running fast. They were tackling him to the ground. He was one that you're allowed to tackle. He was lowering the boom. He was beating people to the edge. He's everything that you want to see in a freshman running back. I am completely 100% stoked to watch this dude play. And he's big. He's chiseled up. He's fast. I almost want him to be the second running back. Like, he reminds me, I posted it, he reminds me of Zeke when he was a freshman. And I know that's high praise, and I'm giving a lot of high praise, but running back is what I want. I love to watch. I was running back. That's where, my mind, it wraps around running back, but I love a high velocity passing game too. But, that's just where my heart is, where my passion is, what I did. So when I see a running back like that, he needs playing time. He needs playing time. He is going to be a beast for Ohio State, and he's going to be a beast for years to come.
How do you see Donaldson then fitting into that room? Because you got Peoples as one, obviously.
I think Donaldson's good. I think he has his place. I also think that he's a great pass catcher out of the backfield, and that's something that people aren't going to realize because he was a wide receiver tight end coming into West Virginia out of South Florida. And he's going to get balls out of the backfield. And you saw a screen run to him. He's got good hands. He's a bigger dude. He's 6'2". I want to see him blocking a little bit more when we do get some of those blitzes. We'll see how that goes because you're going to have to be we're losing some of the best pass blockers to play running back at Ohio State. I mean, obviously Zeke was number one.
Zeke was the best blitz picker.
Travion Henderson was a close number two. I mean, the way he developed to last year, and Quinshon Junson's, he was no slouch either.
But I actually think you hit on this to me. The X factor for this Ohio State team this year is the running backs, is the running game. Because we've seen it. The Ohio State loves to run the football, and they build their passing game off that effective run game. When they get one-dimensional, they're not as strong. No offense is as strong as that. So I really think the growth and development of that running game is essential. And I also think, too, whether you go with Keen Holzer saying here, you're dealing with a quarterback that doesn't have a lot of game experience. So I think that's even more important to establish that running game, having a really strong running team, and then you can do that play action that we talked about and other factors off of that and really instill confidence in that quarterback. So I think running back more than ever is critical to the success this year. But I'll tell you right up front, Texas has been recruiting along the D-line since Sark has got there. They have elite talent on that defensive line. You're going to see a true challenge week one on whether or not this running team or this running back room can execute.
And the offensive line. We're really quickly going to become offensive line U with Tyler Bowen back there. And speaking of Tyler Bowen, if you're behind him trying to take pictures, good luck. That man has a stature. He could play offensive tackle right now. Big dude on the sidelines. Big dude. I mean, you stand him next to any recruit, and he's not losing a lot of ground to him.
But we should be. I mean, and I get how we have morphed. Obviously, Ohio State has morphed over the last 25, 30 years. But
offensive line recruiting was terrible.
We used to pride ourselves on the offensive linemen. I mean, we look at it, somebody like Orlando Pace as the foundation around that. I mean, the eliteness of Orlando Pace and really building that offensive line. And I think you and I can both agree over the last decade, that's dramatically diminished. Now, it doesn't mean we haven't sent good players but we had
that one class, the Brew Crew, who that was really good during the Tressel era. But other than that, it hasn't been a lot of we get the good guys in Ohio. You know, a lot of the good guys that have signed with us, but it's kind of like that one dude that's in Ohio, or maybe two dudes that are in Ohio. This year we had a good class in Ohio. Tyler Bowen's completely changed all of that. Completely changed it. I mean, he's going out and recruiting the best of the best, and they're liking their time at Ohio State. They're loving visiting the Woody, and they're liking that attention for Tyler Bowen. He's casting a wide net, but also he can be selective now. I mean, he got those 3 quick commitments, and now he can be like, I get my pick of the litter now.
Absolutely, and he should be, and you should be at Ohio State too, because if I'm an NFL scout and I look at Ohio State's body of work throughout a whole season, I should be able to see the full breadth of everything I want to see as an NFL scout. So I'm seeing pass blocking, I'm seeing run blocking, I'm seeing you go up against the Abdul Carters, who's going to be a top 5 pick in a couple of weeks, right? So you're going up against elite pass rushers. You're going up against elite defensive tackles, Mason Graham out of Michigan, right? So you're seeing the full scope of not only am I seeing you run block and I'm seeing you pass block, but I'm seeing you compete against top 5 draft picks as well too. And say what you want about Wisconsin and Iowa, a lot of good things with that. They're probably not week in and week out going up against that same level because they're not getting that playoff run the way Ohio State is. So that's the pitch. If I'm Bowen, I'm saying, listen, you want to make it to the NFL as an offensive lineman, you're going to play against the best of the best, not only in conference, but on a playoff run as well. That's why you need to come here.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard. Like, we're going to finish up the spring game show. It's hard to determine, what you're rooting for. Because if the offense does good, that's a loss for the defense. If the defense does good, that's a loss for the offense. And we got great talent on each side of the ball. We need that experience. Coming into that Texas game, we are going to see what this team is made of. It might be a loss. Like, that's definitely a possibility with the talent that Texas has and the talent that Ohio State has. We're going to see what they can put together. And all the reports are that, Arch Manning is doing phenomenal in Texas. You get a lot of those reports. Everyone says, hey, we're doing good. We're doing good. We're doing good. But I believe it with Arch Manning. You've seen his body of work. I guess, albeit it was against not the best talent in the world, but he still has that experience. He has that in-game 90,000 people down there in Austin watching him play, and football means everything in Austin, just like it does in Ohio.
Plus, he's I don't know what he is, a redshirt sophomore or whatever, but this is year 3 in the program. Yeah. He's been there for 2 years is what I'm saying. So he's immersed in Sark's offense. Sark is a brilliant offensive mind. He's gotten some game experience, right? I think he did start a couple games last year when Ewers was out, but again, the level of competition wasn't great. I think he started against Vanderbilt, who was a solid team last year. So he's been in the system for 2+ years. He's had that game experience. That's going to give him the leg up going into Columbus. I don't think he's going to be intimidated or worried about the shoe. You look at whoever we go with week 1 at quarterback, they don't really have a lot of game experience, period. Correct. And that's going to be tough. And I love your comparison to 2021 against Minnesota with CJ. I think that's what we're going to see here from Ohio State. And again, I wish Texas was week 3 instead of week 1. I think Ohio State fans need to come to the realization it's okay to lose week 1. And there's a chance we're going to, because this offense is probably not going to click and it's not going to gel and it's probably going to take a few weeks. And I'll tell you what, that's what scares me about week 4 coming to Seattle as well. We're going to talk a lot more about it in August, but I'll tell you right now, you do not want to come to Seattle and play. We're going to have some stats and numbers that back that up. So I think their early stretch is really tough. And I think if you're Ohio State, if you can get through the first 4 or 5 weeks with just one loss, you get that offense clicking and gelling, then you're in a good spot. But I think it's a bad draw week 1.
Absolutely. It's a terrible draw. And I got to give props to Texas. I mean, they went to Michigan last year, come to Ohio State this year. Texas is scheduling, dude. They are scheduling some people.
You're seeing better scheduling now. I mean, we'll talk about it again in August, but week 1 has some good matchups. Bama's at least scheduling Wisconsin and Florida State, right? I got to give them credit. For 15 years, they never scheduled anybody because they knew they couldn't have one loss. And now they're scheduling out. LSU is, Texas is, Oklahoma plays Michigan, I think week 2 next year. So
and Michigan's scheduling, like I like that by Michigan too. I mean, they're opening
They've always
up their
tried
schedule too. Yeah,
I mean, I think they had a home and home against Oregon. They did a home and home against Washington when they were Pac-12 teams. So Michigan's always tried to, except the final few years of Harbaugh where he was clinging to life and he needed cupcakes. But prior to that and now currently, they're scheduling a lot better. So I just don't like the week 1, but I think anything can teach you. You can overcome a week 1 loss now very easy.
Absolutely. I mean, things have changed. The college football playoff has completely changed the landscape of how we look at it. No one has to be undefeated anymore. No one has to be a finished product until the playoffs start.
You don't have to be able to make it there until December. I mean, Ohio State taught everybody that you can look like garbage November 29th and win a national championship. So, which again, we've talked about in the history of college football, that's never happened, a loss on November 29th for a national championship team. The rules have changed for the better, I think.
So what we learned from the spring game, Mylan Graham is a dog. Keenholz was probably ahead to start the spring game, but now things are tied up. We didn't get any answers there. Julian Sain looked good. I mean, he had those moments that he flashed, and you see why he was that 5-star, getting that ball out fast and making those hard throws in between traffic anywhere. Really didn't get to see much pushing the ball down the field by either quarterback, and I don't know if that was by design or what, but I'd like to see some more of that. Still some questions, right, for this Buckeye offense. We'll see when the game starts in Texas, man. I mean, Texas coming to town.
So quick, I want a quick depth chart, right? Wide receiver. You're talking obviously Smith 1. You're talking Tate 2. Are you talking Ennis 3 and Graham 4? Is that kind of your thought?
I think Ennis is 2 from what I've seen.
So you think Tate is 3?
I do. Ennis is really, really looking good, and people are overlooking him. What I've seen in practice, what I've seen in that spring scrimmage, the student scrimmage, Ennis, he's good, dude. He's looking real good. Go back and look at some highlights of that scrimmage. If you're not sure about that, go back and look at it. But all these
can play too, man. I mean, what he did against Northwestern. Yeah,
I agree. Impressive. I mean, they're all skilled, right? And it's, Ryan Day did say, that those top 3 guys, we have those. What we're looking for is 4 through 6. Who are those guys going to be? And Roberts really popped for me.
But isn't he a tight end more?
No.
Oh, I thought he was.
He's wide receiver. 83 Roberts is on. He is at a tight end. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. He's definitely a tight end. But he was playing like a wide receiver. He looked quick.
Okay. Yeah, and that depth's helpful. But again, you really, against Texas, you're probably not going more than Oklahoma. 4 or 5 wide receivers, right? Total. And that's rotation and everything with all the packages you have. So when push comes to shove, your big games, you're probably not going more than 5 at all. And you can decide 5 through 9 against Purdue and Northwestern. That's fine. I don't care about that. But that's where that battle is. And quite honestly, the 3 wide receiver set is pretty standard set at Ohio State. You're telling me it's going to be Smith, Tate, Ennis, and then Graham weaving his way in periodically.
And Graham's going to get playing time. Obviously, you've seen it. You've seen what he's shown. He's going to get plenty of playing time. I think it's just a matter of getting him, to that next level. And Quincy Porter is going to be there too. So it's going to be Graham and Porter battling it out for that 4th spot. And you might notice, because of the way that those plays are designed, like you talked earlier, like if you can get some of those deep routes and guys coming under, you might see a lot of balls going to both Quincy Porter and Graham. I think Graham more because he's more of that just kind of skilled, flashy, fast dude that can cut across that, get those short short cross routes or quick slants underneath those deep routes. Because
But I mean,
Porter's
that's
able to
what
take
I
it
want
deep
Smith
too.
doing. You know, I don't
Yeah.
need Smith running a fade 50 times a game. That's not
Correct.
utilizing his strength. I want to see Smith over the middle. I want to see him in that 6 to 12 range at times, or that 12 to 18 range.
We saw that a little.
Yeah, you did. There were a couple.
There was a
There were a
couple.
couple routes on that.
I mean,
and again,
obviously they're not going to
be
run them over the middle too much in a spring game where they don't want those collisions.
true, but that's where I want to see that more at game time, and he will. He masters the drag routes. He loves those crossers. I think it's a brilliant offensive scheme to call, especially in college football. But I think that's where you want to see Smith a little bit more. And then who would you call the burner, right? When I need that guy to run the fade route, keep Smith out of this. Smith can do everything. I'm
Ennis.
not worried about.
Ennis.
Okay, so Ennis is your burner. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some speed for sure. I mean, that's why they have him returning punts too.
Interesting. Okay.
Along with that was the one thing I noticed when they were warming up. They were all dropping punts, man. It was like, what? I was trying to get a video of it. You know, I was out there and I was like, all right, delete. I don't want to get these videos of these guys dropping the punts, you know, while they're warming up. And it was kind of shocking to me. So they need to work on that.
That is. But I think, and again, practice, I'm taking this for what it is. My biggest takeaway was I didn't see the quarterbacks pushing the ball down the field all that much.
No.
I saw a lot of checkdowns. I saw a lot of hesitation. And that kind of worries me a little bit because
not 100% confidence.
I agree. There is certainly a chance, right? And I'd have to zero in on this, where if your first read is just completely covered, it's completely covered. But that's where
we talked about that Hub City Sports Network. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm in the locker room.
You're fine.
Squirrel. Hub City, they said we need to use that tight end more often. It opens up the field. We did talk about that earlier in the show with Max Clare, especially going down that seam route. It's really going to open up. I mean, it's going to be a touchdown half the time. If they don't get on him and those safeties don't suck in on Max Clare, that seam route's going to be wide open, and he's a hell of a player to run it.
This actually isn't a squirrel. This actually plays into what I'm talking about is these defenses, right? They're going to be man up on Smith, shading a safety over, right? You're worried about Tate. You're worried about Ennis. You have all these concerns. You got to worry about the running game. I think that point is spot on. Claire needs to have 50 catches this season. He needs to be the best tight end in college football this year because he's going to be your Travis Kelce, your safety blanket, and he can find ways to get open. And this is what I want to see from that quarterbacks is that progression, right? Smith is always open. Doesn't mean you're always throwing him the ball. Tate and Ennis do a great job of getting open, but guess what? There's going to be times where they're just locked up in coverage. It happens. Are the quarterbacks going to be able to see that progression, maybe work their way 1, 2, 3? I see Claire open at 8 yards over the middle, confidence of reading your progressions, getting the football to the open receiver and live to fight another day. But what I don't like is what I saw a lot was I read one, I start to scramble, I start to move out, and now I'm hitting a 2-yard out on the sideline. That's not an effective pass play. So both quarterbacks did that. And again, I'm keeping St. Clair to the side. Both quarterbacks did that yesterday. They were one read, start to move their feet, start to check down. That's not effective. Can they read their progressions better? Maybe that comes with experience. Yeah. Hey, Doug, good to see you. And you are spot on. Claire is. Yeah. I think he's going to be a beast this year.
It's amazing that we get him. And with this receiving core, having Claire, in addition to that, the field is going to be open all day.
And that quarterback get it to him.
Like
that's the question.
And when you have guys like Mylan Graham being your fourth receiver, when you split it out, or maybe Quincy Porter, but you see what Mylan Graham can do when they get everyone deep, spread out those safeties, make them make a decision, run someone even like a deep crossing route underneath all of that. And Mylan Graham could take it to the house in a heartbeat.
That's what they need to do. They need to have that multi-level progression, right? You need to have that 4 to 6 yard drag. You need to have that intermediate option, and then you have that longer option as well. That's where they excel. But again, we're spoiled. we're spoiled with Howard and Stroud and Fields and others, NFL-type quarterbacks that can see that three-level progression, go through their progressions, and hit the wide-open guy. I did not see that yesterday. I saw one read throw. My one read's not open. I get happy feet. That is very dangerous. They have to clean that up.
Oh, here we go. Our St. Louis host is a Buckeye living in Tennessee. That must have been fun last year, man. Hub City Sports Network, man. Tell us what you're all about.
Yeah, we want to hear about it. And Tennessee's got their own issues to worry about right now. We don't, as of yet.
Yeah, they have a lot of issues. And believe me, Nico's not coming to Ohio State. That's not happening. It doesn't fit the culture at Ohio State. I know there were rumblings of that. No one's paying him $4 million at Ohio State to come here. And if you wanted $4 million, that's out of the question. You would upset this locker room and you would upset the quarterbacks. You'd have some transfers if you brought him in for sure.
There's no reason. I love the quarterback room as it stands today. I don't want him. We don't need him. We don't want him. Yeah, Doug's right. They were staring him down. Again, I think when you really watch the QB progressions, it was not good. It was not good.
I want to tell you that I don't mind the check down, taking what's best. If you don't have the confidence to get out there and throw it, you don't want to lose the job by, throwing the ball away. Those guys know that. That's in the back of their head. You want to kind of get yourself into that position where you feel confident making those throws. And this was their first time to really do it in front of 41,000 people. Listen to Ryan Day when he was talking. He was like, we finally got CJ Stroud to that point where he can make all those throws in the Georgia game where he was really, taking off. He was able to control the offense, find all the reads, know what to do in a split second. And then he goes off to the NFL. He has to recycle that all over again, starting from the beginning here. When Howard came in, he had a little bit of that already, right? Because he was at Kansas State. He knew progressions. He just had to work on cleaning up some footwork. They did that. And by the end of the year, he was on fire too. Now you're starting over from the very beginning. Day's got to implement all of his techniques with these quarterbacks and get them to the point where they know the offense, they're confident in the offense, and they can read the defense in split seconds. Call that audible. And that's not going to happen overnight.
But they're also not true freshmen either. Again, that's why I keep putting St. Clair to the side. I expect everything you just said from St. Clair, which is fine. It's a freshman. It's tough to make that adjustment. It's tough. But Keenholz has been around. This is year 3. Sain's been around in year 2. And I'm not saying they're going to walk on the field and read 4 progressions perfectly, every single thing. But I'd also say when you look at Stroud in that Georgia game, they had nothing to lose. And I think Coach Dave was like, just go out and sling the football. You have nothing to lose. We're not supposed to win this game. This team has their entire defense going to the NFL this year. They're elite. They're incredible. Just go have fun. And he did. And I would say the same thing with Keenholz and saying, I would have been like, go sling the football. Go do it. Because I'll tell you right now, I would evaluate you making that read 15 yards downfield. Maybe the DB makes a great play. You get picked. To me, I would compare that to the 2-yard check down after 3 seconds. Is like, okay, you made the wrong read in both situations. And that's where I like the check down at about the 5 or 6 second mark, because that's a true check down. That means you've read your progressions. They're not available. Now you're there. When you're checking down at 2 to 3 seconds, that means you're panicking. I'll let you read about Hub City here.
Yeah, Hub City. Go check them out. It's a St. Louis-based show. It's called Sports Talk Live. No Nico to OSU. We're a digital sports network for 70% local sports, with the rest mostly college. Our founder is from Middletown, Ohio, and an avid sports fan. So if you're into St. Louis sports, go check it out.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening, too. Yep.
It's got to be a big baseball show, I would imagine, being in St. Louis. McCord is a one-read quarterback. Some guys are hard to coach up. I mean, I think we saw a little bit more than that. He got developed, and he didn't do bad. It was just like he had to hit that next level. I think he got that when he got out to Syracuse. I didn't watch a whole lot of game film, but he got a lot better. And I thought he probably would have got a lot better. He would have gotten a lot better at Ohio State. He just, I don't think his dad wanted. I don't think his dad wanted him to put in the work.
No, listen, Kyle McCord was never going to succeed at Ohio State, and it's not a knock against him or anybody. It was a above the shoulders problem. This kid had talent. He was a 4-star. I mean, he played with Marvin Harrison his entire basically high school and college career by and large, but he couldn't handle the pressure. He couldn't handle that.
Oh, Jackson. The STL. I saw the STL. My bad, man. I saw the STL thinking St. Louis.
I thought that the same thing, man.
All right. It was the initials for Sports Talk Live. My bad.
Sorry about that. Yeah. I was definitely thinking St. Louis too, man. So, but that's again, I think the one-read quarterbacks, those get phased out pretty quickly. And I can't speak to what McCord did at Syracuse this year. I haven't seen that much. And I'll tell you what he's looking like on a draft perspective. Probably going to be a day 3 guy, probably going to be an NFL backup. He has the talent, but
that's a good point.
But Doug's right. He played scared. He absolutely played scared. And I think a lot of that had to do with the pressure at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of expectations there. I think you saw a calmer McCord at Syracuse because there was a lack of pressure. So I don't think McCord was ever going to succeed at Ohio State. But that's what you want to see with these quarterbacks too.
And there's zero pressure in the NFL, right?
Zero. Yeah, nobody cares.
He should be fine.
He should just be fine. I mean, again, this is why they're day 3 picks for a reason. But that's too, again, where you have to start infusing and saying in Keenholz, guess what? There's a lot of pressure and things are going to be coming at you at supersonic speed and you need to execute. One of the things they talk about in the NFL real fast, I love with Jaden Daniels, is he's starting to use VR as his pregame workout and he's going at 2 times speed. And Jaden Daniels for the Commanders has said that has really helped his growth and development. He started it his last year at LSU where he's seeing things so fast and it's at 2 times speed. And he's like, go there, go there, go there. And he's really attributed a lot to that. I'd be curious if Ohio State starts to incorporate that because the decision-making is so crucial at the quarterback level. You got it.
All right. Ken Taco. McCord and his daddy was worth it. Was it worth it? All right, good. I was like, I don't know if I agree with that. I'm glad you got that correction in there, my man. I don't think it was. It was something to me. I didn't have a lot of information about it, but from the sounds of everything that happened, his dad wanted a guaranteed start, didn't want him to have to work for the job, and they said, this is Ohio State. You're always working for your job. I can't give you a guaranteed start. I can't give you more money. You got to go prove it on the field.
I agree. And same with these. Do you know off the top of your head when the transfer portal opens and closes in the spring?
I do not. That's something that I need to know. I bet Doug knows. I bet Doug will have that up here in about 3 seconds.
Okay, because I'll tell you what, Buckeye Nation, this is an incredibly crucial portal for a lot of reasons. There may be some surprise names that we haven't talked about, but I'll tell you right now, when that portal closes, if Sayin and Keenholz are on the roster, that is a massive win for this program. We need both of them. We need them to compete. Whoever wins out, we need a true backup. I love St. Clair. He's incredible.
April 16th. Oh, there we go. Doug's got it too.
So you're talking Wednesday. And how? What is it? 2 weeks? 10 days? I don't know what the portal length is.
Through the 25th.
There. I mean, this is a hold your breath period for Ohio State right now.
That's a short time, really.
These kids are already,
they know, yeah.
Mike Germany's, filled us in on this. They're already entering the portal, doing air quotes for people on the audio.
Getting Zoom calls, right?
Yeah, and again, that's a whole other area. But you're getting these. You're already getting a good sense or a feel right now of who's doing it. You got some spring games next week as well. So you have these windows of times. But Ohio State, what you need to do right now is you need to retain your quarterback room, and you need to retain by and large your first and second string. If somebody wants to transfer, They're clearly a third string. You can't control that. But
is there any spring games that are happening after the portal?
I don't know.
I don't know of any. I know Michigan's is this weekend, but man, that would be interesting if teams start to do their spring portal after, or their spring game after the portal.
There's probably some restrictions on that. The NCAA is probably having them button up sometime in spring. They probably wouldn't let them go into May and do their spring game. I don't know all the details around that. You got to give these kids a break too, to be honest with you, because now, Ohio State's basically done, right? They're done with practices. They're done with everything. They're going to reconvene late July. So this is a 3-month window where you have to give the kids a break, and you have to just kind of give, by and large, the coaching staff a break. Now you're still recruiting, you're still doing this, but it is a quieter period.
And by break, you mean eat right, get in the weight room, run your routes, go out and get your body ready, have a diet plan, all that stuff's going to be into it. They're going to do their spring reviews, I think, this next coming week to, tell everyone where they're at, what they did in the spring, where they need to improve. So that's going to be really telling. It's something we're going to have to watch as Buckeye fans to see if one of those quarterbacks leave. I don't think at this point there's any reason for either one of them to leave. You got to stay. It's neck and neck. I believe wholeheartedly that it is not just coach speak. This is a neck to neck quarterback battle right now.
And that's to me where if I'm one of these two kids, I would not leave if it truly is neck to neck. And you can hear what the coach says, but in reality, you're at practice every day. You're in the locker room every day. You have that feel pretty quickly if something's swaying. If you have that true, it is a coin toss right now, and it's going to come down to how we execute in July and August as to who wins this job. You can't leave because you have an opportunity to be the quarterback at Ohio State. And nothing you're going to do is going to replicate that. There isn't a top 15 team right now that you're going to jump to and start.
Correct.
Could you start at somebody in the ACC or Big 12? Yeah, absolutely. But if you want to be the quarterback at Ohio State and you want to compete for the playoffs and Big Ten championship and national championship, and you have a shot at being the starter, you take it.
For sure. Hey, man, I want to thank everyone for getting in this locker room. That's what we call the comment section. So get in the locker room. You can earn some merch when we start getting that, which Doug has already earned. So I talked to Doug about that, and he's probably going to pick it up in person sometime in the summer practices. So just want to give a quick shout out to Andre Green for getting in here, Prince Amir, and Dude Hub City Sports Network. Go check it out if you're in the Jackson, Tennessee area. And thanks for joining the show.
Doesn't matter what part of the country you're in.
Yeah, we appreciate any love, any support you can give us. Go follow us on Instagram. Go follow us on YouTube, Facebook, X. I get a lot of stuff out on X. I'm starting to try to build up YouTube. So if you don't hit that subscribe, it doesn't cost you a damn thing. So go ahead and do it. Ken Taco Hut, thanks for joining us. I believe you've been in here before. I've seen your name. But thanks again. Man, it's just wonderful to do a morning after show. Sorry for you having to wake up early on the West Coast, but thanks again. It's always a pleasure to have you on, Seattle. I mean, he's the co-host. He makes this show what it is. So I appreciate it, man.
You're the engine, my friend. I'm just running shotgun.
And everyone, have a blessed day. Thanks for joining us. Buckeye Backers are done with the show. Until fall, you will not have a morning after show again. Peace out. God bless.